Channel. This is Business Connect by Roy. You know, a lot of people are saying Shanghai is in lockdown. So I decided to, yeah, I live in Shanghai, so I decided to go out and show you guys around the city and also to explain to you guys exactly how the situation in Shanghai is. How is the lockdown situation in Shanghai? Is it a very strict lockdown? Is it a soft lockdown? So I'll be going down the streets. I'll just go into the subway, go into a few supermarkets, go to the bank. I mean, just move around to see how the situation of the lockdown is in Shanghai. So don't go away and let's move on. China's toughest zero COVID policy seems to be changing a little bit as the country has just updated its zero COVID strategy. In just 2 weeks, China has registered over 15,000 cases of the COVID-19 virus, mostly dominated by the highly transmissible Omicron strain. To establish strong immunity amongst the society and to relieve the pressure on limited medical resources, the National Health Commission has updated the treatment playbook for COVID-19 based on the transmission characteristics of the virus, like the Omicron strain, as well as the high proportion of mild cases. This could be seen as China stepped forward, relaxing its future policy. So with the new policies now, a lot of people are saying Shanghai, like other cities, are in lockdown. But how is the lockdown done now in China? Unlike before where everywhere was shut down, people had to stay at home and no one had to go out, the lockdown nowadays is different. It's been done community by community, depending on the number of cases that has been identified in that community. Some communities will have 2 days of lockdown, some communities will have 3 days, some communities will have 7 days or 14 days, depending on the severity of this community. So during the lockdown, depending on the number of days, people carry out several nucleic acid tests and they stay at home. And those who are allowed to go out for maybe one reason or the other, you cannot go into public places without putting on your mask. And in some places, you will even be asked to show a proof that you've had a nucleic acid test in the past 24 hours or in the past 48 hours. So once you have the test, you'll be given like a piece of paper, or in some cities you have like the QR code where you can show to prove that you've had your test. And now in China there are different QR codes. Some QR codes will show that you've had your test. Some QR codes will show that you've been vaccinated. And most QR codes will show your travel history. They can identify the places where you have visited. And if your QR code remains green, it means you have not traveled to a high risk zone. But if it turns to yellow or to red, it depends on the severity of the area in which you've been to. So to show you guys the severity of the situation, to show you how life is in Shanghai in such a situation, I went downtown just to move around the city and see how life is, how people go about their activities, what are the measures that have been taken, and I recorded a video that I'll be sharing with you guys. Don't go away. So guys, we're here at People's Square, Shanghai, and you can see the streets are not as busy as usually they will be at this hour. A lot of people are respecting the lockdown. The streets are not as crowded as they will be by this time. But it doesn't mean that the lockdown situation is as bad as people are spreading over the internet. People are going about their normal activities. People are going about their activities normally. But you won't find the streets crowded. You won't find people without a mask. You will find everyone on the streets with their mask on. And before you go into all the public places like maybe supermarkets or maybe the subway, you must go with your mask on. So let's move on. So guys, when I arrived here on this day, I was so shocked to find this street one of the busiest pedestrian walks in Shanghai, as scanty as this. I was so shocked. So it means that the lockdown, although it's not as serious, but the effect can be felt. because most communities are on lockdown, so the streets are definitely a little bit scanty, which is a nice thing for the population. Then also, when you walk into the subways, this is an old rule that has just been reinforced. There is no way you will go into the subway without your mask on. And even if you forget your mask, there are boats now around most subways that you can buy a mask on the spot if you forget your mask at home. Then also I walked around this area around West Nanjing Road, around People's Square. This is also one of the most busiest streets here in Shanghai. Like for a fresh afternoon like this, for a sunny day like this, to find this street as scanty, it means something is happening. It's not like you wouldn't find a single person or a single car on the street. You find a few people walking, a few cars, but you wouldn't find it as scanty as this. On a normal day, on a normal cozy afternoon like this street will be more busier than it looks right now. So based on this situation, there are 4 rules that have been updated as far as the COVID-19 prevention is concerned. So the first update is that some mild cases will be allowed to be quarantined at home instead of being hospitalized in isolated places like in hospitals and maybe in isolated homes. So now in some cases, if you're tested positive, you can be isolated at home and follow up your treatment at home. And also secondly, they've lowered the standard at which patients could be discharged from the hospital, which means that at a certain level of your treatment, depending on your situation, you could be discharged from the hospital and you will continue your home monitoring, you will continue your treatment at home, and they will follow you up to see that your treatment is completed at home rather than staying the whole time in the hospital. And also, China has approved the use of self-test kits that could be bought and used at home, which means that you can now buy your COVID-19 test kit and use it at home to know your status. And also, the new playbook has approved the use of Pfizer's antigen drug Paxlovid, which means that Pfizer's antiviral drug Paxlovid can now officially be used in China. So guys, after moving around, you've seen what's happening in Shanghai. You've seen how people are moving around freely, going about their daily activities. To the end of the video. So as you can see, I've shown you around Shanghai this afternoon, and you can see the situation of the lockdown in Shanghai. You can see that although so many communities in Shanghai are on lockdown, you can see that people are still going on with their normal activities. People still go to work, people still go about their normal businesses, people still move around freely. And although you won't find a lot of people gathered or crowded on the streets like you would find it if everything was normal, but Shanghai is safe and everyone is safe in Shanghai and in China. I hope wherever you are safe as well, and let's continue to observe the local rules and regulations as far as the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned. This is Business Connect. Please don't forget to like the video, share it with someone, and let's know where you're watching us from and what's the situation in your country. I'll see you in our next video. As usual, it's peace out and catch you. Ciao.